Carolyn McCall has made a name for herself as one of a tiny handful of women to have risen to the very pinnacle of British business. As chief executive of the nation's flagship commercial broadcaster, ITV, where she was paid more than £1 million last year, she is in a position of enormous power and influence. Which is why the ruling by Ofcom, clearing Piers Morgan over his remarks about the Duchess of Sussex, raises embarrassing questions for her. Whatever Dame Carolyn's private views on his comments, Morgan could reasonably have expected some support from her as his ultimate boss. Of all people, she should understand the concept of free speech, one of the fundamental tenets of democracy and something that should be of the greatest importance for anyone running a media giant. What's more, she is a former chief executive at Guardian Media Group, where she spent the formative years of her career. Despite it being a hotbed of leftist politics, she was not noticeably socialist herself. But her years there might at least have instilled in her the dangers of censorship and bowing to demands from the rich and powerful to shut down their critics. And yet, instead of a full-throated defense of Morgan, she appeared to side with Meghan Markle, saying she personally believed the Duchess and that ITV was committed to supporting mental health. So it must have stung to read Ofcom's statement issued yesterday that said silencing the likes of Morgan would be an unwarranted and chilling restriction on freedom of expression. Ouch. Morgan has written that Meghan wrote directly to my ITV boss Dame Carolyn McCall the night before I was forced out, demanding my head on a plate. He claimed the Duchess stressed she was appealing to her as a fellow woman and a mother. We do not know what Dame Carolyn made of this attempt to evoke female solidarity. But whatever her personal feelings about Morgan, or his opinions, in her role as his chief executive she should have defended his right to voice them. If you run a media company, free speech should be front and center. When it comes to Morgan, this is not only a point of principle, but of commercial good sense. In failing to keep him on board, she risked killing off a goose that laid golden eggs. Instant retribution followed. Around £300 million was wiped off ITV's stock market value in the immediate aftermath of his departure from Good Morning Britain as the share price plunged. It has since recovered, but that was an unmistakable sign of how important an asset he was to the company. Morgan is pugnacious, outspoken, often acute and always watchable. That is not something any broadcaster can afford to squander. Least of all ITV, which suffered badly during the pandemic, when people became addicted to alternatives such as Netflix and Amazon Prime, and when advertising revenue was hard hit. Profits have subsequently bounced back, but the company faces long-term challenges if it is to compete against the US streaming giants and keep advertisers on side. Dame Carolyn oversaw a payment, reputed to be a cool £1 million, for exclusive UK rights to air the explosive Oprah interview with Harry and Meghan. So perhaps she was understandably annoyed that the coup of winning the interview, at such a high price, was overshadowed by the furore over Piers. For his part, Morgan claims he was not dismissed, but quit because he refused to apologize. Morgan, haters will be furious, but the Ofcom judgment utterly vindicates his stance. The watchdog said his remarks on suicide, mental health and race, if taken out of context, had the potential to cause harm and to be highly offensive. But the point is that everyone, the viewers, the regulator, Dame Carolyn McCall, was perfectly aware of the context, which was that Morgan's opinions were robustly challenged by his fellow presenters. Indeed, this was the highly successful formula of the show. Piers would say something outrageous, Susanna would chime in as a voice of reason. Morgan's disillusion with the Duchess was common knowledge. Any viewer who did not know what to expect when they tuned in must have been living on the planet's Og. It's possible that Dame Carolyn, 59 and a mother of 3, may feel an instinctive sympathy with the Duchess of Sussex. Commendably, she is a great supporter of diversity and of smashing the glass ceiling for women. In her ascent to the top of the business world, she has encountered some unpleasant sexism herself. At a dinner soon after she was made chief executive of EasyJet in 2010, she was disgracefully heckled by drunken male guests shouting "Doors to Manuel, Carolyn." In the event, she performed brilliantly as chief executive of the budget airline, whose share price quadrupled under her stewardship. Previously, she has handled awkward situations and people with aplomb, including the crotchety founder of EasyJet, Sir Stelios Ioannou. This time, however, she has not displayed her customary finesse and has failed to defuse a damaging row. ITV was very quick to say it won't have him back, which suggests it is personal and that Dame Carolyn simply can't rise above her own distaste for Morgan and his controversial style, even if he is ratings gold. The episode in itself is unlikely to turn the city against her as her track record still commands respect. It has, however, raised uncomfortable questions about her judgment, and it also calls to mind that stark warning, go woke, go broke. Piers Morgan, Ofcom's vindication of me is a resounding victory for freedom of speech.